There are clear signs when certain aspects of a game are lacking: incoherent design, low quality assets, buggy software. What are the player-facing symptoms of a game that is lacking in production or leadership competencies? And to clarify, I appreciate this clarification, symptoms don't mean that it's that specific discipline or group's fault, but just an indication that the team should get curious about what challenges that group is facing / lend support. Player-facing symptoms of a game that is lacking in production or leadership. I'm going to probably talk about both of these sometimes. Sometimes I'm going to talk about leadership. Sometimes I'm going to talk about production. If you're lacking leadership, I think you have a high probability of not shipping your game. Because leaders are the ones, formal or informal, that are saying, here's the goal, here's what we're trying to produce or build, or the vision we have, the player we're trying to reach and serve, the game we want. The leaders set that, and then they influence the rest of the organization to move towards it. So if you don't have leaders, you are unlikely to create anything coherent. And that's going to lead to you probably just not shipping your game. Even bad leadership that can set a direction might here be more useful than no leadership, which is a weird thing for me to say. But if you have, if you were just absent leadership, you don't ship the game. I think that's somewhat true for production, because production is primarily a leadership role, but not entirely. You can totally have other leaders that'll step in and fill that gap. So if you're missing production competencies, there are studios that have shipped successful games that did not have producers at all. You see less of them over time because often that overstresses the discipline leads, and it's a crunchy mess towards the end that hopefully producers help you mitigate. But I would say that if I was like the player related impact of like maybe not having production would be something like the game is much later than we thought. If I've got production issues, if my production staff isn't doing their job, we probably are not able to set reasonable expectations internally or externally. If we can't set them internally, we can't set them externally. And that's going to lead to a lot of missed promises, whiplash, etc. That's going to annoy players. So I think production plays that role. Again, both production and leadership, because I view producers as leaders, are that aligning function around this is where we're trying to go. Let's get there as rapidly as possible. And so though, like, yeah, you would see no game ever shipped, or the game coming in late. I think the other thing that you'd see is a game that doesn't feel cohesive. So that focusing down and prioritization function that I think production and leadership does, to say these are the important things and this other stuff doesn't matter that much. We need to focus on the most important stuff first, and then maybe we'll get to some of that other stuff later. You'd see games that have a lot more than they really need to be successful, that were probably much more expensive than they need to be. Maybe you planned for that, right? Maybe your production staff did a great job of laying out the big plan and you hit all your deadlines, building all this stuff that you didn't need, but the final experience feels like it's just got too much in it. It's like a random sort of, all the different features are bolted together, and sometimes it's almost hard to understand, like, what were you trying to do with this game? Like, what was supposed to be the experience? Because this feels disjointed. It feels like you just threw a lot of features and stuff together. And I feel like leadership and production should help keep that more focused, as like there's an experience we're trying to create there. We abstract from the stuff we're building to talk about here's the engaging part, or how we're going to emotionally hook players with what we're building. And I mean that in a positive way, hopefully. Those would be big things that come to mind when I think of like we don't have good production, we don't have good leadership. I think also you'd see a lot of difficulty scaling. And again, the manifestation of that from a player perspective, it's a difficulty in doing the right things when you need to be. So yeah, maybe that one comes back to it coming out more slowly again. Other things that would happen player side. Let's see. So I covered doesn't ship at all because leadership isn't there to guide people towards the goal. Is highly unpredictable even from a player perspective, and then feels disjointed. as if different parts of the studio were going in different directions, or we're just building stuff and hoping it all fit together in the end. I think those are probably the big ones that I'm thinking about. Yeah. Okay.